There's also hydrolyzed collagen, so it should be good for your skin and your joints as well. So we're marketing it as a function-ale. Obviously, there's all sorts of health benefits you get from the botanicals.
Hi, Low No Nation, and welcome to this week's conversation on the Low No Drinker podcast. Now, today I am talking to two lovely brand founders, and they are Amie Caldwell and Kristian Harris from the Gentleman Brewing Company. I need to check if it's Gentleman Brewing Company or Co, which they prefer, but they'll tell me in a minute, I'm sure. So the Gentleman Brewing Company is a brand launched only, I believe, a few months ago with a very unique approach to their 6 products who are all based on classic British personas from yesteryear and from today. The Gentleman Brewing Company is not a dedicated alcohol-free brand, and I am actually really intrigued to speak to creators and producers who are bringing a drink to market in a fast-moving and ever-changing alcohol-free world, as well as an alcohol-full world at the same time. So that's enough from me. I'd love to say hello and welcome you to Kristian and Amie and ask them if they could tell us a little bit about their own background and what led them to where they are today. So let's start with you, Kristian. How are you doing today?
Yeah, great, thank you. So yeah, you got it right. The Gentleman Brewing Company. Okay. Although we're not too precious on the name. Co's absolutely fine. So I'm Kristian Harris, one of the co-founders of the Gentleman Brewing Company, along with Amie. My kind of background is completely unrelated to beer whatsoever. My career has been in IT, in project and program management. Okay. So the beer industry is very, very different to me. I've had kind of the idea of setting up my own brewery for quite a few years now. Kind of October, not last year, the year before, I went on a start your own microbrewery course to start to try and gather some skills together. Came up with the concept of the Gentleman Brewing Company and the kind of some of the basic ideas around the beers that are still forever evolving. And then we kind of flipped it on its head. So rather than setting up a brewery to start with, we wanted to focus on the beer first. So develop some really good quality recipes. We'll come on to the Botanist and the conception of the Botanist later on, but come up with some really good recipes and then contract brew them to start with and take our customers on that journey with us to building our own destination brewery. That's the idea.
You are the first person that I've spoken to, and I'm sure others have done it, but the first person who's mentioned that they went and did a course, because I've spoken to a lot of founders who are like, I didn't know anything about beer. I just sort of thought it would be fun. But I love that you went and you did a course on that. I don't know anything about these courses. Are they really long and involved, or is it really, did you love it?
It was a 3-day course. There was lots of takeaways from that course, but there was like visits to local breweries. They had speakers coming in from local breweries. There was some work on recipe development, getting behind the science of brewing a little bit, which I really like. I like that side of things. I've got more of a sciencey, logistical head when it comes to this kind of stuff. Amy's more of the creative side. It was a really good course, but it kind of pointed me in the direction, because I want to start a small brewery and then grow it and scale it. Flipping it on its head and starting with the end product first, I think was one of the key takeaways I took from the course. We didn't want to invest loads of money in a brewery and then work out how to try and sell it afterwards. Let's start with the product first and then make sure it's really good and make sure people like it. And then let's build a brewery down the line when we know a little bit more about what we're doing.
Yeah, because that's no small investment, is it? No. Just got a couple of quid under the mattress and go and build a brewery. And then we also have your co-founder, Amie. So hi, Amie, welcome. Thank you for being here today. Were you on this course as well, or did you come at it from a different angle?
No, not at all. Oh, thank you so much for having us on. But no, definitely not. I wasn't on the course. This is kind of like Kristian's seed that has kind of evolved and grown. So my background originally is nursing. I've been a nurse for the last 18 years. predominantly in the NHS and then in private. So yeah, this is all completely new to me. It's a very, very steep learning curve. And like I said, it's not something that it wasn't my original dream. It was something that Kristian came up with, and then it's kind of just evolved. And I've kind of come on board, and I'm more like Kristian said, like the more creative side of it.
Okay.
And yeah, I suppose like see the vision of it a little bit more. So combined together, we make a really good team. Kit's got the logistics, and I'm the creative like eyes and see like how it will look to the world. So yeah.
That's great. That's great because you're both bringing your strengths in from completely different angles, and I think that's really good. I run Lono Drinker on my own. I have a couple of people that help me out with stuff, but I could completely appreciate having the benefit of somebody who's got strengths in the areas that you're not as strong in. So it must be nice to have each other to lean on, to bounce ideas off, to look at the bits that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We do feel very blessed because we do bounce off each other, and we've got kind of all the bases covered. But yeah, we don't always see it from the other person's perspective because we've come from two very different worlds.
Yeah.
But it is the majority of the time it works really, really well, and we do feel very fortunate for that.
And most of the time you like each other, even though you're not in the same room right now, but you're in the same building.
Yeah. A lot of people can't understand us because we live together, we work together, we start businesses together. Like they can't understand, it's not a normal, whatever normal looks like, but it's not the norm, is it? But for us, it works. So yeah, we'll keep doing it for as long as it does.
Yeah, you're the ultimate power couple. You're just making it happen, taking over the world one beer at a time.
Absolutely, I like to think so.
So tell me about the beer then. So you have a range. Well, actually, no, let's go back a bit further before we start on that. So how long have you been in production? When did you launch the Gentleman Brewing Company?
So kind of soft launch was January. We've only just had the production batch in May for the Botanist. So we focused on some of the alcoholic beers first. Mm-hmm. And they were developed kind of towards the end of last year. So October kind of time, we were starting to get the sample batches through that we could look to test the market with.
Amazing. And just for those who might not be aware, when you say January, because we don't know when people are going to find this episode, you mean January 2024.
Yes.
And we are currently just at the 7th of June 2024. So we are talking about a very short time frame here.
Yeah.
So your heads must be spinning.
Yeah, it feels like a lot longer. Days turn into weeks at the minute. But it's all still very new.
I think the plan was always that the Botanist was going to land at the same, low alcohol beer was going to land at the same time as all the rest. Yeah. But it's been obviously it's got a lot more complexities to it and needs like specialist eyes to really tweak the recipe and get it into production. So I think it's just taken so much longer, far longer than we anticipated it would take.
Okay, so let's tell people about the range then and how it works and what the Botanist is, because we've referenced it a few times. So let's make sure people can understand. So Amie, in your range, you have, is it 6 beers?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and they're based on 6 characters, and I think you'll be the best person to explain that to us. So take us through a bit about your beers and the process that brought them to life, because they really are characters, aren't they?
They are. I mean, it's Kit's brainchild, so he's the one that's like thought up which characters go to the beers. So all the characters have personality traits or qualities in them that kind of associate with the type of beer that they are.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got. Kristian might be better at doing this, but I'll have a go at a few of them. So the Botanist that we've obviously spoken about, the low alcohol beer, is based on all the botanicals from Mother Earth and how we've infused those into a beer, and all the botanists that have come before them, and things that have been used botanicals that have been used for years and years, centuries and thousands of years for healing properties, hence why we call it the Botanist. Oh gosh, I don't know which one you'd be better at speaking about.
I'll put you on the spot. Kristian, what about you? What's your recall like for the characters?
Yeah, so what we are is a modern take on a traditional style of beer. So at the moment, there's lots of craft beers that are like hazy IPAs, quadruple hopped IPAs, that kind of thing, all in bright, shiny cans. What we wanted to do is kind of sit between those beers and the more traditional style of beers that sit in a bottle. So we're trying to be a modern take on a traditional style of beer. So the characters in the lineup, we've got a stout called the Explorer, simply because the stout it's a higher percentage alcohol. It's got the kind of warm coffee, chocolatey flavours that come across, which I find really comforting. And I think of a polar explorer drinking a stout and really warming him up in that environment. We've got the Squire, which is our English country gentleman. That is a blonde ale. The idea around that is, where we live, near the Peak District, blonde ales are very, very popular. It just reminds me of the countryside. So hence, we've got the Squire, the English country gentleman. We've got a modern take on a bitter. It's kind of a modern take on the old school pales or milds. And that's called the Henry. He's our city gentleman. We've got a Heller's lager called the Stockbroker. The idea behind that is there's a lot of strategy that goes into brewing a really good style lager. There's multiple temperature changes over many weeks to condition that alcohol correctly. So hence the Stockbroker. And then we've got the Captain. The Captain was probably one of the first ideas that sprung to mind. It's an India Pale Ale called the Captain because beers used to be heavily hopped to ship them to India. They had a high alcohol volume and were heavily hopped to preserve them, basically for the voyage, and that's where the IPA came from. Hence the Captain. So each of the characters have kind of got a bit of a backstory, and then we've tried to evolve that character further to give them all their own backstory. And then obviously there's the Botanist as well in the lineup that Amy's already alluded to.
It's a really clever way to bring the drinks to life, isn't it? To give them more than just a list of drinks. You're giving them a personality and something that people might, want to connect with and sort of say, I'm like that. This is where I work. This is what I do. So that speaks to me. For those that, most of our listeners, obviously, Low No Drinker is not a recovery platform, but it is for people who are mostly moderating or choosing to drink less for whatever reason, for whatever length of time. They're most going to be interested in the Botanist. So can you just tell me a little bit about the flavour profile of the Botanist and what the development was like getting to that stage?
Yeah, so I'll touch on the development side of things for the Botanist, and then Amy can touch on the flavours. So what I'm also doing in the background is I'm doing an MBA through it's like a practical MBA course where I'm building the business alongside a mentor. And at the start of that MBA course, we were doing a lot of customer research. Mm-hmm. I had the idea of some of the other characters in the Gentleman Brewing Company, but as part of my customer research, there was just a wealth of people that were saying, I don't drink, I'm not interested in drinking, I'm interested in a really, really good low alcohol beer. So the Botanist is a 0.5%. Actually, the production batch came in about 0.3, so slightly less, but we market it as 0.5. But what people were saying is, wouldn't it be great if we could have a beer with benefits? What would be fantastic about having a beer that would actually make me feel a little bit healthier for drinking it? And I was thinking, that sounds like a fantastic idea, but I've not got a clue how to do that. But then we started to sit down and talk about ideas for the Botanist. And Amy's already alluded to the botanicals that are in it, and I'll let her talk through those and the kind of flavours that come from it. It's a very complex drink. But what we've also included in there is vitamins and hydrolyzed collagen. So there's vitamin C to give you a vitamin C boost. There's a whole range of vitamin B. There's a vitamin B complex in there. And there's also hydrolyzed collagen, so it should be good for your skin and your joints as well. So we're marketing it as a function-ale. Yeah. Obviously, there's all sorts of health benefits you get from the botanicals that are infused in there as well. But yeah, we decided we'd really try and go down that healthier alternative route. Yeah, that's where the idea came from. To get that idea, we've worked with industry experts to really develop the recipes. From my background as a project manager, it's all about bringing in people with better skills than you have. I had some ideas around it, but let's bring in the pros to really develop this. So the way that it's brewed is it has a very, very short fermentation period, which is very closely monitored to get us to the ABV. We don't liquor the beer back. It's brewed to be a base beer that has the 0.5%, and then we add a botanical tea that we infuse. And I'll let Amy go through the botanicals that go into it.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting. So it's not de-alcoholized, because a lot of the low no range is either lower fermented or de-alcoholized. So you haven't stripped anything out. Instead, you've brewed it purposefully to the point where you are ready to stop, and then you've added in extra benefits to it. I think that sounds fascinating, and I'm really pleased to hear that when you were doing your research, people were saying, we want a lower alcohol version. I don't drink and I want something that tastes amazing, because I think more people need to have the confidence to say this, and more people need to be able to speak to brands like you who are predominantly alcohol full and say, you're doing great stuff, but also can you do something for me as well?
It was pretty much almost a 50-50 split, if I'm honest, between the alcoholic people that like the alcoholic beverages and the low no alcohol. It was literally a 50-50 split in the research that I did. So yeah, obviously a growing market. And yeah, me and Amy, we both like drinking low no alcohol drinks, which I'm sure we'll get onto later on. But I like trying them all the time as well. So I don't always jump for a alcoholic beer. I quite like a low no alcohol alternative.
Amazing. So Amy, let me grab a bottle for those who are watching on YouTube rather than just listening. So this is a bottle of the Botanist. I will put some other images on the screen as well, so you can see the character that we have here. So tell me a little bit. So Function-ale, which it says down there at 0.5%. And so you were saying in terms of the ingredients and what goes in it, hops are considered to be quite healthy anyway, aren't they? So you're starting from quite a good base. And I don't think many people know that hops are actually quite good for you.
For sure, yeah, absolutely. So alongside it, we've got hibiscus and chamomile. There's goji berries in there, which give it like the amber, the darker colour that makes it look more like a stronger beer. And then it's like Kristian alluded to, it is a very complex flavour profile. So everyone kind of pulls something very different when they're drinking it. Predominantly, there's the lemon balm, which gives it like a bit of a citrusy, sweet flavour. There's the ginger root, which gives it like, when you have an alcoholic drink, and it gives you like a bit of a flush, that kind of warm feeling. So it almost feels like you're drinking like an alcoholic drink. You still get that same kind of, feel, that kick. And then there is the elderflower, so that gives it like a real depth, like flavor profile.
Yeah, I've got to be honest with you. obviously we've got these bottles here. Thank you very much for sending them over so that we've got them for the recording. We have tried it before. I say we, I'm talking about my husband. And when they arrived, I had to tell him off because he went and he grabbed it. He said, "Oh yeah, this is back. This is amazing." And my husband still drinks. So he's very much like yourselves. He's cut down a lot as obviously we've explored a lot more low and no drinks, and he's discovered that there's some great stuff out there. He absolutely loves this, and when he allowed me to try it as well, I really enjoyed it. One of my favorite elements of your beer is the mouthfeel, is that texture that it gives you. So it's got body to it. It's that nice texture that coats your mouth, but not in a. Sometimes alcohol-free and non-alcoholic drinks can be laden with lots of other ingredients because it is difficult to preserve them. It's difficult to recreate those flavors. But yours has got that natural texture to it, and I really enjoyed that.
I think that's the thing. I think that's why it's taken so long to develop. It's getting that same kind of feel. So you're sat in a bar and you're having a drink with other people that potentially not picking a low or non-alcoholic choice, but still feeling like you're part of that, as opposed to picking a soft drink or a fizzy drink or something like that. So that you've got that through is fantastic. That's really lovely to hear.
And I think that's it. I was at a conference yesterday, and I was talking to a group of people. And I was explaining that for non-drinkers or those who are choosing not to drink for any length of time, it's about having something that doesn't other you. You want something that you can enjoy and feel just as much a part of the occasion as everybody else. And then a woman approached me afterwards, and she said, her son has just turned 18 and he's not a big drinker, but he likes to go out with his mates. Of course, you're 18, everyone sort of that British rite of passage to go down the pub and have a pint with the lads. But he just doesn't enjoy drinking very much, but he doesn't want to feel like he's missing out. And he doesn't want to stand there with a Coke, and he's like, right, I don't mind driving anybody home, but I want to be able to have a drink, and I want to be able to have something that I can enjoy and something that makes me feel, imagine that age group. It's all about belonging to the gang, isn't it? Being part of that. And it's the same as we get older. We don't want to feel separate from our work colleagues or our family or our friends when we're doing something. And so to be able to have a range of beers and to be able to say, look, okay, I'm going to be having the pale ale, I'm going to be having the lager, and I'm going to be having the alcohol free, all from one place.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all the same range. So it looks in terms of, it's not a separate entity. It doesn't look any different. It's, the packaging is all the same. So it is just like choosing, a type of beer in essence, which, hopefully one day that will be the case. And it's, not the social norm to have a drink, and you're not almost seen as like, oh, you're not drinking, So, it fits in lovely.
Fantastic. How have you found it, guys, in terms of launching these 6 beers, at pretty much the same time, in terms of the response for your alcohol-free version? When you've tried to speak to, I'm not sure what stages you're at now, but in terms of obviously getting your product into people's hands, into consumers' hands, either via retailers, small shops, that sort of thing, just the conversations you're having with people. How has that been in terms of the interest levels you get for the alcohol-free beer versus the alcohol full range? Are you finding that people are open to it and taking it and saying that I need to provide this to my guests or my customers, or is it more of an add-on?
It's still very, very early days for that at the moment. We're tweaking our branding just to make sure that we tell our story in the right way as part of that branding. So, but the conversations that I've had with people, like we've given some samples to a local pub in Chesterfield that is renowned for its alcoholic beers. Because we're only in bottles at the minute, it's quite difficult to get this out because lots of pubs and venues like that want cask or keg. They're not so keen on taking bottles at the moment, but we've given them some samples to try, and they've been really, really complimentary about the Botanist. They were keen on getting that in the fridge and getting some of their locals to try it, because a lot of these people are more alcohol drinkers. They go to that pub because it is a renowned beer pub, but the feedback that we've got for the Botanist has actually been really, really good. But it's still very early days for us. We want more people to try it. we want more people to give us feedback on what we can improve, because I doubt we've got it right first time as well. So there'll be some tweaks to do.
Well, you're very close. If you haven't got it right, you're very, very close.
Excellent, thank you.
So is the plan to then be getting to more sort of trade shows and expos and things, and getting out there on with the man on the street and just getting some people, getting liquid on lips, as they say?
Yeah, absolutely. It's 100% that. It's building that brand awareness, getting it out there. We want to do some events, that kind of thing. And I see the Botanist as actually probably one of the flagship beers in the range. I don't think anyone's done anything like that where they've tried to infuse like vitamins into a low no alcohol beverage. Certainly not a beer. I know that there's other businesses out there like Impossible Brew that have got nootropics in there and that kind of thing to give you that chilled feeling. But I think the Botanist is really stand out in our lineup. And the conversations we've had with people, everyone is really, really intrigued to try it. It's something different.
Absolutely. And you've got 6 in the range, including the Botanist. It's obviously early days, as you said. Looking further down the line in an ideal world, perhaps, because I'm pretty sure you're quite busy at the moment, would you have any plans to extend the low no selection that you have with other types, or do you think you'll keep going with just the Botanist?
No, I've got other character ideas that fit in quite nicely for another low no drinker. I'm a massive petrol head. So targeting a beer towards the motorist, which it may be called that, would I think be perfect in the lineup as well. I'd probably look down the styles of a more maybe just a non-alcoholic lager, but try and bring across some of our learnings to try and give that mouthfeel and those kind of things. There's definitely more in the pipeline. There's lots of other characters.
I'm looking at Amy's face to see if she's ready for this marketing with a whole new character.
No, it's the thing is we started with all the beers. I mean, you could go on forever, couldn't you, with your ideas? But the motorist has always been there from pretty early on. So I'm expecting it.
Fantastic. Well, I'll definitely keep an eye out for that one, because if it's anything like the Botanist, I definitely want to give it a go.
Oh, thank you.
Fantastic. So where do people go to find out more about the Botanist? Where can they try it and go and see these wonderful characters that we've been talking about?
So we are predominantly online at the moment. Hopefully in the coming months, if people are watching this a few months down the line, they'll be able to get it at more local locations to them. But online at the moment, our website's www.tgbco.co.uk. And you can get that online. We've tried to keep it competitively priced with the rest of the range, so they're all priced exactly the same. Even though there's some more elements that go into the Botanist, there's not the duty that we have to pay. So we've tried to keep everything the same, because I know sometimes with low no brands they're more expensive to buy, which would put people off. But I wanted to keep the range all the same.
That's really interesting, actually, because there are definite challenges to producing low and no beers that aren't faced by full strength alcohol drinks. Can you? I'm not sure which of you would be best placed for this. Either talk to the challenges that you've had in production for the Botanist versus your other ones. Perhaps some of the learnings that you mentioned a steep learning curve earlier on that you've discovered in this new journey?
So for me, it's more about extracting the right amount of volumes out of the botanicals. So, for instance, if you brew a tea with goji berries, you extract kind of 50% of the sugar from the goji berries. That's not a good thing if you're then going to ferment that, because there's just additional sugars to go with the malts of the beer, the base beer that sits beneath it, and then you're going to struggle to keep the alcohol level down and low. So there's been challenges in that regard. We've had to do. We've worked with David Smith, brewery consultant, and he's done a lot of experimentation around all of the botanicals, brewed their teas, worked on the flavour profiles to try and get the right level of botanicals. So there's been a lot of challenges in that regard. Then there's just the challenges of sourcing these botanicals at kind of competitive rates that you can productionize moving forward. So the way we brew it is we brew the base beer and ferment that, and then we brew the botanical tea, and that's added down the line with the vitamins before it goes through. It's filtered and then bottled.
Okay, so you've got two separate brewing processes happening simultaneously, which you then marry together.
Yes, exactly that.
That sounds complicated.
Yeah, it's just about getting the levels right and tasting it at the right times and that kind of thing. And especially because we're contract brewing, we can't be there all the time as well. So we're having to rely on people as well. The brewery we used, Hambleton Brewery in Ripon, that have got experience of doing low no alcohol beers. Hence why we chose them. They've been fantastic for communicating back to us and tasting it on a regular basis. But it's been a complex process, but I'm happy with the result.
And then you've also got the other challenges with an alcohol-free beer production, haven't you? Because alcohol is a preservative. Alcohol keeps things consumable for a lot longer, which is another one of the areas that people don't understand why alcohol-free drinks can be so challenging, because you have to go through a whole nother set of processes to keep that drink safe, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we opted for a 0.5% volume over a 0% volume, because that little bit of alcohol that's in there does help preserve the beer. We've got a year's shelf life on the Botanist in the bottles in the way that it's brewed at the moment. But it's a massive challenge to stabilise that beer.
That's great, having a year shelf life on that, because I think sometimes people can not understand those processes that go into keeping alcohol-free beer safe and how they're impacted and how long they can enjoy their drinks for. So I think it's great to know that you can have this. Not that I think it would last a year. If you had it at home and you tasted it, you'd definitely be consuming it before then. And the fact that you've gone for the 0.5% to keep a little bit of that alcohol in there is worth noting for anyone who's listening who might not be aware that 0.5% alcohol, although according to UK guidelines is not considered alcohol free, it is impossible for the human body to get drunk on 0.5% alcohol. Your body just processes that quicker than you could ever get intoxicated on it. And it's no different to what you would find in many other products that we consume every day, but they just don't have to have it labelled, such as some orange juices, ripe bananas, even, there's a big fly landed on my notes. And what's the other one? Brioche buns. Some brioche buns can be up to almost 2%, which is, I don't know why, what they do with brioche buns. Yeah.
I knew about the orange juice, but I didn't realise food and things.
Yeah, absolutely. And the human body produces alcohol as well. So within your stomach right now, there is about 0.3% alcohol in there. Don't quote me on that. It's about that much. So I need to check. But it's to say that alcohol is within almost everything that we are consuming in some way, shape or form, because is naturally occurring in a lot of things. So if you eat bananas, then you're having the same as you would if you're consuming a 0.5% beer.
It's interesting because I suppose that's why some people have got more of a sensitivity to it than others, like based on their diet or how much is in their stomach or
Yeah, I think for me the argument over, because the government is currently considering whether to change the guidance in the UK, which says that alcohol free is 0.05, and whether to change that up to 0.5, which would match most of the countries that we import our drinks from. Because at the moment, when we're importing drinks, you can have 2 bottles that both say alcohol free, and they will have different maximum ABVs.
Yeah.
So for me, I think we should normalise it to 0.5%, because again, you can't get drunk on that. The issue comes, I think, when somebody has a medical or religious reason for not consuming alcohol. If you have an allergy, then obviously you need to make sure that you're not having anything at all, or if it's against a religious belief. But that's where labelling and communication on our bottles and the cans and the websites and everything comes into big play, so that people always know what it is that they're having. But the majority of people who are drinking alcohol-free drinks, and whether it be beers or wines, are also drinking full-strength drinks as well. So, most people who are moderating are having an alcohol-free beer because it's a Wednesday, excuse me, frog in my throat, and they've got to go to work in the morning, have a meeting, but on Saturday they might be having the full strength. So we're living in this world now where brands like yours, I think, are going to be very much the ones that make it through, because you're recognizing that there are different types of people that are wanting the quality that you're producing, or the style of drinks that you're producing. And it's not just one size fits all anymore.
Absolutely. I think people are making more conscious decisions, aren't they, on what they're, consuming. And we are those people too. So, it makes sense to just, have a range that works for everyone, or, different choices based on whatever day it is, or where you are, or what you're feeling like.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, you're those people too. And I think that when our producers are the same as us, that's when we get really great products and services. All the best brands are made by people who are solving a problem that they themselves are facing, because none of us are unique in that right. There's a lot of people out there who are just trying to, as you say, make better choices, trying to make healthier choices, recognizing that I want to drink a little bit less, I want to have a few less hangovers, and it's good to be able to have something and go, right, I know this brand and I know that I like their lager. Oh, they do an alcohol-free one as well. Let me try that as well. And it's good that it's not just the big brands that are doing it. It's not just big alcohol who are able to do that, but having independent brands like yours, so that it shows that diversity and a range is just the norm now. It's what we're all going for.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
So speaking of which, Kristian, you mentioned earlier on that you do quite like tasting a few low and no drinks. So before I let you both go, I would love to put my final question that I ask everybody who comes on the show. So it is almost summer. It's June the 7th, as I said. There is a bit of sunshine outside. It means it's barbecue season. It's coming up. So this weekend, you're off to a barbecue and you are deciding that you're not drinking for a couple of your beverages, other than the amazing Botanist. What other low-no drinks do you guys like to enjoy? We'll start with Kristian, and then Amie, you can give us yours as well.
So for me, I'm a beer drinker. I'd always go for a low-no beer. I really like Impossibrew. I like what they've done with the new Tropics to kind of give you that relaxed feeling. I also really like the Days Brewing, Days Brewing Company beers. Their lager and IPA, I think, are really, really good. I just like the flavour of them. I think, you'd struggle to tell the difference between that and drinking an alcoholic drink.
Yeah, I think Days are doing really well, and I know they're in the middle of a big campaign to get more draft alcohol-free into pubs as well, which I think there's a lot of call for. As somebody who drinks both full strength and low no, would you enjoy would you order an alcohol-free pint in a pub, or is it more of just a convenience when you don't feel like drinking too much?
No, I think I'd definitely order an alcohol-free pint. I think the thing is it's such a rarity to get an alcohol-free pint. It's always in a can or a bottle, that you have to consume that in a pub setting. But on draft, obviously, you get the additional carbonation, that pulls through. It will adjust the mouthfeel of the beer. It'll probably have more head retention. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely a space for that moving forward. I think it's a better way of consuming it than bottles or cans necessarily.
Okay,
I feel
great.
like
So
it's imminently coming for sure.
yeah,
Where you see it, in mainstream pubs and things, because it's the time of year where you would go for, I don't know, maybe like a pint of lager shandy, or so, or people will go, but we'll choose like a fizzy drink or something. So imminently, it's I can feel that it's just on the cusp for sure.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and of course, put it on your to-do list.
Yep. It's
Absolutely.
already there. It's already there.
And what about yourself, Amy? What other low no or even mid-range drinks do you like to enjoy? Are you taking to the barbecue?
I think for me it'd be a cocktail. So Three Spirit.
Oh yes.
I don't know whether you've tried we ordered all three of the bottles, but Livener is probably my favourite. And just mix it with pink grapefruit and some soda. But very much like the Botanist, it's got like I don't know whether theirs comes from like a peppery, but it's got that warm feeling, where you get like a bit of a buzz or a bit of a kick, as though you're drinking an alcoholic drink. But yeah, amazing. I mean, they've been about a good few years. We've been drinking them for a while. But yeah, that would be my go-to for sure.
Yeah, that Three Spirit Livener is definitely one that a lot of people are enjoying, because it's that sector of the low no market where you were talking about sort of the nootropics and the adaptogens and the something that's giving you a little bit of that two drink feeling, like the sort of sentiers that are trying to recreate that buzz, but without the alcohol or the side effects of it the next morning.
Yeah, for me, it's without the fuzzy head the next morning. I mean, I can just drink one alcoholic drink and feel, fuzzy the next day, and I almost like dread it. So yeah, and I just don't feel like you notice any difference. It feels like you're drinking an alcoholic drink. So that would be mine.
Fantastic. Great choices. Great choices. Kristian, Amie, thank you so much for joining me today, especially as I know you've got so many things to be doing at this early stage. I think you guys are doing something absolutely fantastic with the Gentleman Brewing Company, and I'm really excited for more people to try the Botanist in particular, obviously, and to see what else you've got up your sleeve, particularly now that I know that the Motorist is coming down the path at some
No
point.
pressure.
Way.
You heard it here first, guys. Exclusive. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Take care.
Denise, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much
Thank you
for
for
having us
having us.
on. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.